The Pentax f35-70mm f3.5 to 4.5 is a K-mount lens that was manufactured during the years of 1987 to 1991. It's a plasticky, wobbly lens whose exterior appearance I suspect might put many people off, but at the end of the day, the proof is in the end product. So let's take a look. YouTube, hello, my name is Natalie, and this is a little recap or demo or review. My light just went off. It's a little recap, review, demo, which is timestamped for your convenience. It will consist of photo and video that I've captured so you can decide for yourself if this lens is any good for you. It'll be an overall positively toned review because this is an old lens. It's mounted to my camera on an adapter, and it's my first ever vintage lens experience. So the work around the minimum and maximum focus distances has been interesting. It's been a learning experience and incredibly fun one. So it was never gonna be a flawless lens, and it was bound to have some quirks. Now, whether that model or this model lens is a good lens or not will come down to how it's been treated over the years, how I use it now, my understanding of lighting and exposure, and of course, the final edited results come down to editing style. So this lens in particular, that's a totally subjective call. So let's see what you think. This is Julia down there, 70mm aperture 8, and the focus is gonna be love it. Okay, for perspective and context, this was the first time I'd picked up a presumably vintage lens. I'd walked past a store at a market that was selling sunglasses cases and torches and little random things, and right there in the middle of that stuff was this lens. He offered it to me for 100 Rand, which is the equivalent of not even £5 or $6. And it had a cover on the front, but not at the back. I asked the guy if I could inspect it, and it seemed to be okay. Nothing major other than some dust on the inside and a little bit on the outside. More on the outside and a little bit on the inside. I told him to take my money, and this lens is now mine. I went on home to research Pentax mounts. I do have a Pentax film camera that came with a 55mm, a 55mm f2, and that came with the camera. So I don't include that in my vintage lens finds, and I think that's an M42 mount. So I went into this knowing pretty much nothing. So in short, this is a Pentax KAF mount lens, and it's adaptable to various other mounts, including my Micro Four Thirds mount. So research indicated that I should be okay with any mid-range price, and I mean somewhere along the lines of 18 to 25 pounds adapter. So I went with the one with the most reviews, and I heavily investigated the negative reviews to determine what I was dealing with, and I opted for the K&F Concept PK to MFT adapter. There's actually quite a bit on this that warrants its own video, so I will be putting that out after I've tried out some shims. DIY type shims. But in short, depending on the lens and the adapter combo, you will have issues with infinity focus and minimum focus distances and markings. So very crudely, I can reach infinity and beyond, meaning this adapter is too short, meaning there is hope. So if I shim this to make it a little longer, I should be able to shift the focus markings accurately, and hopefully my minimal focusing distance will be reduced a fair amount as well. So on that note, there is a marking that says macro, but as it's set up now, that's not going to happen. I cannot enjoy this at its macro capacity, and even at 70mm, I won't be getting many exciting insect shots or bird shots. But what I am being entertained by about this misbehavior at 70mm is that I'm supposed to hit infinity focus at, I don't quite know exactly where, the last number before the infinity symbol is 4 meters, but I hit infinity very, very far away, and I can unfocus that far away thing like that mountain and trees and get a closer point in focus that is still very far, like those bushes, and that goes on, like in this example set here, where as I just showed, I can focus to the distant trees, and then I can focus to the bushes, which are still very far, like 10 or 12, I don't know, maybe even 20 meters away. And then next I can focus on the fence, which is like 5 meters away. So all of this while maintaining a very shallow depth of field. And this is wide open, by the way, of course, obviously. So at 70 millimeters, and that's at f4.5. So this might be normal and maybe I'm just deprived by my micro four thirds lenses. I don't know, but I was under the impression that infinity focus meant that everything beyond that distance would be in focus, but I'm certain that this is all due to the adapter length falling just short. Anyway, so wide open, this is how I have the most fun with this, and it's at 70mm that it's most fun. At 35mm I can only focus to infinity, kind of. Now, depending on the exposure at which I capture my images and depending on my position relative to the light source, the images can be quite hazy, and that's easily corrected for in post. Here's an image of a flower thing. When I was a kid, those things kind of reminded me of bottle cleaners, where I missed my exposure setting. So we have a hazy image and the same scene better exposed and lightly sharpened with the high pass filter in Photoshop, and look how easy it is to miss focus. It's still a gorgeous shot though, and this is user error, of course. Now, from this same afternoon, here are some lichen shots straight from the camera, unedited, and there is an undoubted richness in color here, and another hazy one, but look at what we can get when we push those colors, and you can really push these colors when you shoot raw. Now, I won't comment on whatever tint or temperature this lens leans towards because I tend to shoot at auto white balance and then I make up for this in post. And when we're discussing color pushing with this lens, I cannot emphasize how much I have enjoyed this lens for portraits so far. Oh my goodness, there is a density in that color capturing along with that softness. When you get the exposure and that correct spot focused, you have a winner, and you really can push this to get some rich, full and bold color in your portraits. You can get ridiculously experimental here, kind of to the point where you can get quite obnoxiously, colorfully annoying with your edits. This lens is it's a blast, and it's dirty. So wide open, it's not a problem, but when trying to maintain the 180-degree shutter in broad daylight, even at 125 frames per second, I needed to stop down, and this revealed the dusty specks hidden in pure sight within the lens. And at 70mm, this is stopped down fully at f32, I think, and I don't have the correct step down ring or step up ring, but I managed to devise a plan to get an ND8 on here. So this allowed me to shoot video wide open, and I played with the focus pulling, and I did play out some embarrassingly inadequate focus breathing demos on a very windy afternoon. A fair amount of focus breathing, and there's nothing really to complain about, really. I don't love focus breathing when I see it in movies, but if it's there and it's there, it doesn't bother me. It is what it is. So this lens has taught me to appreciate focus roll-off. Now, I've heard people discuss focus roll-off, and I've always felt a bit meh about it, kind of in a way. But for the first photo that I took with this, my jaw dropped with how gorgeous that focus just rolled off from the front to the back of the glass. I know this is normal stuff, but it was the first time I could truly appreciate this, and I'm so happy that I picked up this lens. There is something in the way it captures images that make it so easy to make my photos look, you know, vintage. I think it's a combination of the rich, dense color and the softness, or the gentle sharpness and organic contrast that it captures these images with. Would I recommend this lens? At the price that I see it going for on eBay, to adapt it to a micro four thirds system, I don't know. That's totally up to you and whether you liked some of the photos and the videos that I shared here. If you can kind of find it for cheaper or for the price that I got mine for, definitely. The rich colors that you can extract from this lens with a well-exposed raw image makes it a ton of fun to shoot with and to edit. I love this lens so much that I got more, but not more of the same one, but a bunch of vintage lenses, one of which turned out to be infested with fungus. So it's opened up right now while I wait for the tools, and this is as far as I could get without specialized tools or brute force of a professional jar opener. It's a whole new world, and I'll be sure to keep you updated with videos as I learn about what to do, what not to do, and what to look out for in secondhand or vintage lenses and all that stuff. I think that next week I will have a video covering the adapter and a few little quirks that I picked up along the way. It's a really hot day, I need to get outside, get some air, so I'll close off with more photos and videos captured with this Pentax f35-70mm f3.5 to 4.5. I do hope that you enjoy them. Thanks so much for stopping by, folks. I do appreciate it. This video has been a lot of fun to make. Don't forget to keep taking photos, keep making videos, and I'll catch you in the next one.